I am really upset right now. Like, this is gross stuff right here. Like, they're a bunch of vultures. It hasn't even been a year since Akira Toriyama's passing, and you already see companies like Shueshia just dining in on the legacy of Dragon Ball and what Akira Toriyama left behind. This is just so freaking gross, man. This stuff came out earlier this morning. It was translated by this individual right here. You know, he has a bunch of, you know, posts. He's been talking about Dragon Ball Daima and all that, and basically he went out of his way to translate this important article about the future of Dragon Ball. And so, bringing up what this article says, I want to read it, but to summarize first, pretty much, Dragon Ball's overall future is in shadow right now. Because it's like, we know Dragon Ball Daima is coming up in October of this year, but after that, we don't really know. Because with the rights of the series being battled back and forth between different companies, at this point in time, we don't really know what will happen to Dragon Ball. For all we know, this legitimately could be the end of the Dragon Ball that we know and love, and it will pass into the hands of just a greedy corporation that just wants to pump out so much stuff because they just want to make money instead of actually, you know, honoring the legacy of Akira Toriyama, the author of the series that passed away. And just when I read this article, it really boiled my blood because I want you to see this real quick. So this right here is a little tidbit in this, okay? It's like down here, as you can see, and I'll read the whole thing, I'll go over it, but like this little bit just showcases really the position Shueisha is in and what has led to this dispute between the two groups, the companies fighting each other for the rights of Dragon Ball. So to give some context here, okay? Basically, the article highlights that before Akira Toriyama's death, back in 2022, there was a falling out of sorts with Ioku. Hopefully I'm saying his name right. Ioku, as an individual, was someone that's always been kind of like the main front and center person that has presented Dragon Ball to the world. Basically, he's been the head of the Dragon Ball room. He literally says it right here. You can literally see it right here. He's been the head of the Dragon Ball room in 2016 after serving as editor-in-chief in V-Jump. Basically, he's been the one that has been the front and center main head honcho leading the charge for the works of Dragon Ball for a very long time in terms of, like, you know, getting anime, etc., from my understanding. And so, basically, back in 2022, which is this little part right here, Shueisha basically was very upset with Ioku because without consulting his superiors, he basically decided to make a film adaptation of Akira Toriyama's series Sandland. And I feel like everybody at this point has heard about the series Sandland. It was a series that came out very recently on Netflix, I believe. I personally have yet to watch it. I really should watch it. But the point of the matter is that it was a work of Akira Toriyama that finally got, you know, put into an anime adaptation. And apparently Ioku, you know, the one that's basically the front and center for Dragon Ball for a long time now, that Akira Toriyama even liked himself, you know, was the one that pressed it to happen. He went out of his way, not really consulting with his superiors, etc., and he made it happen. And basically, thanks to that, he faced a lot of criticism and backlash from anime production companies, as you can see here, TV networks that had condescending, they say that he had a condescending attitude, trying to, you know, like, mud his character, so to speak. And then they were also very upset that, you know, he lacked collaborations with the metaverse and AI that the higher-ups were anticipating. And just, like, when you see a statement like this, that the companies like Shueisha and these TV production companies and all that are very upset because Ioku went around them, and instead of incorporating AI and metaverse and, you know, trying to follow through with their regulations, he decided to uphold the traditions of Akira Toriyama, you know for a fact who's potentially on the right side. Now, I'm not saying Ioku's completely right for not consulting the right avenues and talking with people, but it's very clear after this move, you know, there was a divide between Shueisha and Ioku. And so with that divide that happened, with him going around, you know, the procedures and not consulting his superiors, it caused a shift, like a rupture between the two companies, like, for instance, Ioku and Shueisha and others, and it caused him to basically have to step down and all that as the spokesperson. And so, because of that, he decided to form his own independent company, and he called it, like, Capsule Corporation Tokyo. And as you can see here, literally, Akira Toriyama is cited that he was also dissatisfied with Ioku being removed as he trusted him the most. So basically, Akira Toriyama even endorsed Ioku as, like, the person he trusts the most with his work in terms of being a spokesperson for Dragon Ball. And so, thanks to the rift, Ioku made his own company to basically now be able to handle, you know, Dragon Ball without the influence of Shueisha, without Shueisha really pushing back against him. It's just, there was a huge divide that made. So, kind of fast-forwarding to what we know now, pretty much we have it to where, thanks to that whole divide that happened, like, in, 2020s, like, 2022, etc., you have it to where now with Akira Toriyama's passing, they're now fighting. The two businesses are fighting for who will carry on the legacy of Dragon Ball. Will Shueshia gain all the rights? Will, Capsule Corporation Tokyo that Yoku has gain all the rights? Or, will they both share a certain percentage? But the point of the matter is that it's very clear from what Shueisha has even outlined in this article alone that they care more about money and optics and how they're viewed and using AI, etc., than actually the legacy of Dragon Ball. And I know at the end of the day, Shueisha is a company. I know that. They have to make money. That is the truth, okay? I know people don't want to hear that sometimes, but that is the truth. But at the same time, this author is so legendary. He is such a legendary figure within manga culture itself. Not just even manga culture, but way beyond manga culture. The fact that they couldn't even wait a year to really just dismantle the stuff he's built and, like, ruin his legacy to some degree thanks to just greed for money, it is so gross to me, man. They really are just straight up vultures. Now, I'm not saying, I want to make sure this is fundamentally clear. I know I'm painting this video as Iyoku is completely in the right, but there is definitely some things I disagree with. I do think that him going around, Shueisha, not consulting superiors, etc., is not the right way to do a business. It's not. There is a hierarchy of command that does make sense. Even though it is thanks to him going around them while we got even Sandland to begin with, I do think that, there is an order to things, and I can understand why there would be some friction between companies if he did that. But it does not change the fact, though. Apparently, they were upset with him because he usually kept in mind Akira Toriyama's visions and what he wanted above else for the good or the bad, according to Shueisha, and they didn't like that. So basically, Iyoku was always for Akira Toriyama, and he always would do what Akira Toriyama wanted, even if Shueisha did not want it. And so, that is where, once again, more friction comes in. Like I said, there is an order of things. I do think he's at fault to some degree, but I do think that it's very clear, looking at the two individuals, which one cares more about the product, which one cares more about Dragon Ball. At this point in time, at least until more information comes out, it looks like Iyoku loves Dragon Ball way more than Shueisha does. They want to make bank off of it. And, I mean, even this article kind of highlights that. At the beginning of the article, they talk about the cells in the movies and stuff, like right here. You literally see where, like, with Dokkan Battle and all that, it has worldwide total revenue of 5 billion yen by February 24, and then the movie Dragon Ball Super Superhero, released in 2022, had a box office revenue of 13 billion yen as well. So, it's just, like, it's very clear that Dragon Ball is very lucrative, it has a lot of money, it prints money, and it only continues to grow even after the passing of Akira Toriyama, and so these companies are, like I said, are feasting on the remains of the series and what Akira left behind just to get money, more money, etc. So yeah, this is insane, because the future of Dragon Ball is really unclear at this point in time, because let's talk about some things of what if, for instance, like what could theoretically happen here if, let's just say Iyoku does get the rights, and this is not necessarily a good thing either. So, I was, talking with a few people on social media, and they mentioned to me, because I'm no lawyer, I don't know all the laws, etc., what happens in legal battles, but someone pointed out, like, hypothetically, if Iyoku was to completely win, like the battle between the rights of Dragon Ball and all that, he would definitely be able to make anime, make manga, etc., of Dragon Ball, merchandise, etc., but the problem would be, is that he would probably not have the rights to actually Dragon Ball Super. So, for instance, the current manga that is being written in Jump, like, for instance, in the magazine, Iyoku and his company would not have rights to that. That would mean that the entire script of Dragon Ball would just have to be completely thrown to the wind and start from scratch after Battle of Gods. And maybe even prior to that. So, you can clearly see where the problem comes in legally. If Iyoku wins and he doesn't technically get those rights to the actual magazine manga, it would have to be an entirely new story. That means that Ultra Instinct would have to be scrapped. It would mean that, like, Ultra Ego would have to be scrapped. Different characters like, Goku Black, to Jiren, to everything that we've seen in Super, so to speak, would potentially have to be scrapped because, obviously, they would not own the rights to it because, Shueisha would own the original manga, so to speak. So you can see where the difficulties come in. So, it's really bad. It's a messy situation that clearly has no regard for the community and the fan base that Akira Toriyama has obviously, cultivated for decades at this point. And it's just like, this is what companies do. They showcase complete disregard for the love of a work just because they want to gain a few extra, $1 million, so to speak. I mean, obviously way more than that. But I mean, it's just, it's just so sad that this is kind of a legacy of Dragon Ball that's happening here, is that we're getting to see just these companies fighting over the rights, and regardless of who wins, even if Yoku wins, it's not going to necessarily be good, because obviously Shueshia is probably going to have the rights to the original manga, and the current writer of, you know, the manga of Dragon Ball Super is an employee at Shueisha, so I doubt they're going to step away to work with Capsule Corporation Tokyo, so it's just, yeah, you can see the mess. It's very messy. Man. Well, Dragon Ball fans, not good, man. It's not good. I'm gonna leave it at that. You all be safe. Chibi out.